My problem with liberal Zionism is it's so fucking hopeless. When you ask them what they want whatever was happening in the 90s, which wasn't working at all. What they call it is the two-state solution, which is something that hasn't had a chance since the 90s. And even Rabin said it was less than a state. And when you look at like what they were negotiating at Camp David, the Palestinian state was going to be surrounded by the Jewish state. It wasn't going to have its own access to water. It wasn't going to control its borders. It wasn't going to have its own army. It wasn't going to be a real state. It was just an agreed upon apartheid. The liberal Zionists, what they want is like a well-organized apartheid that they don't have to think about. They basically want Jews who live in Israel or in Israel when they visit to be living in the Jim Crow South, where you see a few people from the oppressed group and they're serving you, and the other people from the oppressed group, they live in an area, you don't go there, you probably talk about how shitty it is and how great it is where you are, and you blame the people living there for that. But also like, okay, so what they want isn't good, but then like there's no hope for it. It's not popular at all in Israeli politics. The election is between two sides that are way to the right of the two-state solution. The two-state solution is also not popular with the Palestinians because while it was happening in the 90s, things kept getting worse for them. Their economic conditions got worse. More settlements were built. Their ability to move freely was restricted. So there's no hope for what they want happening. And I don't even know if what they want happening would be any good. But then they're against everything else. Like they say they're against the settlers. They're against Netanyahu. They're against the people trying to take Israel and Zionism to its logical conclusion. They don't want that. And then they're against anything that's actually pro-Palestinian. Okay, because like BDS is non-violent. BDS is trying to get Israel to the place that South Africa was in the 90s, where they had to allow equal rights. When South Africa ended apartheid, they didn't kick out all the white people. They didn't even redistribute the economic assets that were stolen by colonialism, which was fucked up. I think the Palestinians deserve real reparations and redistribution that wasn't given to the people in South Africa and wasn't given to the blacks in America after slavery. So I actually think it's reversed. But BDS and like treating Israel like South Africa would be like such a light way for the Jews in Israel to get off. They would get to keep almost everything they have. No one would get killed. They wouldn't have to move. Because like when you talk to like a BDS supporter like Ilan Pappy, the famous Israeli historian, he even wrote a book where he was talking about what he wanted. I just read it. It's not about all the Jews having to leave. Maybe some people on Twitter say it. Maybe some people who support Palestine, who are Arab or Muslim or like hardcore anti-colonial, hope that could happen. But like that's not the requirement for Israel to become a state with equal rights. And I think a lot of it is that they need to say that doing anything different than what Israel is now would be ethnically cleansing millions of Jews and therefore akin to another Holocaust. They need to say that because they can't make us seem reasonable. Now, just saying the Jews can stay, they have to live in peace with the Arabs. We're going to probably have to redistribute them. We're going to have to figure out a way for everyone to be able to live together in peace and have enough housing and enough jobs because, I mean, the country's going to change a lot and a new constitution and all that. But just saying that, what we actually want, and what Zoran said with the state with equal rights, like that's reasonable. So it can't seem reasonable. We have to seem like we're gonna deport 7 million Jews. I don't think we're able to do that. And I don't think that should be the goal. I think the goal is make things better for the Palestinians, give them a say, give them the chance to have the good material conditions and democracy and all that. And yeah, the Jews can live there too, and maybe they'll be a minority, but it'll be like 60-40 Palestinians. I mean, who knows? And yeah, like if either group was trying to like violently oppress the other group in that system, or if the Palestinians weren't letting Jewish oppressed refugees go there, then yeah, like the U.S. and the UN would have to step in. Because all of Israel as it is now exists with the permission of the U.S. and the UN. It's not the strongest country. Yeah, the Jews have an army. It's an army that's supplied by America. So either way, America and the UN, which America often blocks from doing anything, are making Israel what it is. So yeah, they could make it more equal and they can enforce that instead of making it a horrible apartheid and genocidal state and enforcing that. It's not independent. Israel's not really independent because it's dependent on America militarily and also it's dependent on America's veto in the UN. If there was no America, the UN would come down to Israel. All the other countries would probably embargo it. It would be a pariah. So, yeah, and it's the same thing, like, I'm not going to be able to flee to Israel if America becomes a Nazi state. Because if America becomes a Nazi state, they probably wouldn't keep propping up Israel. There is a lot of hope. That's why, like, at some point, I probably was a liberal Zionist. But like, there's no hope in it because you're just going back to a thing that didn't work in the 90s and wasn't that good. And then you're just complaining about anything that happens because history didn't end with Ehud Barak in the year 2000. He did a bunch of pedo shit after. Like, things are going to keep going. So yeah, Israel's going to keep pushing right. The Palestinians are going to keep resisting because they're fighting for their country. And that's the thing with the Palestinians. They fucking love Palestine. Israel makes it shittier and shittier for them. But they still love the land, and only reluctantly do they leave. And the ones who leave are constantly focused on how they can get their right to return to the land back. I hope there's some liberal Zionists who watch this far. And like, it's not hopeless. You don't have to complain about anything that's different than what was going on in the 90s. Okay? It can be better. We understand that you guys like going to Israel and you have family who lives there, and you don't want us to violently kick your family out. And we're not going to do that. If your family and friends have committed horrible war crimes we have evidence for, they're going to have to pay a penalty. But everybody else, we want them to live in peace. And I bet there's even ways of improving the material conditions for working class Israelis. Because right now they have a top-heavy economy and they're way too focused on defense industries that don't help anybody. My point is, I usually avoid liberal Zionists. I don't think like that can win them over. I'm trying to win everyone else over to help get rid of the power of Zionism. But I do want to say to the liberal Zionists, like, we're not here to hurt you. We're not here to hurt people you care about. We want this to be a better world. Yes, we want Palestine to be for the Palestinians. But we don't want to do anything bad to the vast majority of the Jews there. We want to make things better for them too. Well, that is if we can stop them from killing the Palestinians. Because it's hard for me to talk about that. Like, I feel like I'm an asshole. I'm saying something nice about the Israelis, and the Israelis are going to vote for a government that's going to oppress the Palestinians. And it's like, I'm going to be mad about that. I'm very mad at them. But ultimately, like, if we got the power to make a free Palestine, the priority wouldn't be getting a revenge on the Israelis. The priority would be creating a good state for everyone who wants to live there. That is after we do a public hanging of Ben Gvir.